I'm just a word without a home.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review Match Day 2. My name is Nick Philpott. I'm your host this evening, and joining me, as you can see, look at them. I've got so many of them now. I've got to try and remember their names. Nigel Croucher, let's start up North East with you. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. So, enjoying the season. Now it's got going again.
Yeah, and great to have fans back, eh?
Yeah.
Which we'll come on to shortly. Jill Holyoke, once again, how you doing, mate? Are you well?
I'm doing fine. So, enjoying
Yes, mate. I'm good, thank you. Very well.
Good. Lionsy is producing this evening. Thank you for doing that. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Been a busy weekend, but it was good to be back at the game yesterday. That's for sure.
And we're definitely coming on to that in a second. And a very warm welcome back to Greg Ellis, producer, presenter, Red and Blue member family. Mate, how are you and how is the family?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me back. Family's all good. So, yeah, happy to be here tonight. Looking forward to chatting about the game.
Buddy, listen, you are more than welcome. You know that, and you'll be on, no doubt, throughout the season, I'm sure. Okay, but before we get into the game and everything else, don't forget to ask your smart speaker to play the very latest Red and Blue Review podcast, which will be out shortly after the show finishes this evening. You can also find us, if you want to watch us, on our YouTube channel and all your major podcast providers. And don't forget, we are the only podcast you can watch. Coming up this evening's show, we're going to be talking about the game, obviously. We're going to be talking about players in great detail. We're going to be picking the bones out of what we've seen so far this season and what the fellas think we actually need. But a little bit of news from the club in case those of you hadn't seen this. Good news because it just shows that Patrick Vieira is having an effect on our youngsters. 7 of our under-23s have signed new contracts with Crystal Palace. New contracts for Jake O'Brien, J. Rich Bagaloo, David Boateng, Luke Dreyer, Sean Robinson and Sean Spence and James Taylor. O'Brien has secured his permanent deal after a successful half-season loan from Cork City in 2021. O'Brien enjoyed a strong few months with the under-23s and captained the Eagles in their victorious playoff final at Selhurst Park. So congratulations to all 7 of those. I think the future is bright. We do have this bit of a production line with the youngsters, and clearly a part of Vieira's remit is to involve the youngsters, and we'll be talking about that later in the show. Let's say some hellos. Can anybody see the names, all the dozens of people in the chat? Anybody
I can.
Go on in.
So it's Mark Drew, Mark Easton, Tim Eames, Tony Nichols, Dawn Palace, Martin Nash, Mark Wills, Neil Chatterdy, some guy called Paul Holden, Mr. Holyoke is obviously in there, Martin Hartnett, dozens more. It's good to see Leon Sounds, and Edward is from Brighton. Good man.
Well, good evening to you, each and every one of you, wherever you're watching in the world. Right, boys, Greg, Nigel and Jill, if you don't mind, so I can release Ian very quickly. Ian, I'm coming to you first because most importantly, I think in everybody's world, including their mental health, is the football fans are allowed back in the stadium. And you were one of the many in the ground yesterday. Talk me through, first of all, how you found the entry into the stadium with the new COVID regulations, please.
It was seamless. I mean, you got the text message saying that they were pleased to see us come. They're looking forward to us coming to the game. just try and make sure you're going to be there a little bit early. But just downloaded it onto the phone, just got the phone out, shoved it into the machine, it read it perfectly straight in, and I'm thinking, what's all the fuss about? It really was simple for a change.
My understanding, though, it wasn't quite so simple. I mean, some of the stuff that I saw in the Holmesdale Road, and they were queuing up. In fact, I was on Twitter live, okay, and somebody was actually saying, Crystal Palace, please delay kickoff because this is a nightmare out here.
Well, I mean, I can only go on my own experience. I turned up early, as I was asked to turn up early, and I didn't have any problem whatsoever. I guess when people don't necessarily heed that, or think they're just going to leave it to the last minute, then all it needs is one person to not be able to get their phone to work or to have an issue or whatever, and it holds people up. But personally speaking, and I know plenty of people that I spoke to did not have a problem getting in. So, ladies
and gentlemen out in Facebook land, I can see Michael Middleton saying it worked very well. Hi, Simon Philpott, I can see you as well, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen out there, how did you find your experience getting into the stadium yesterday? Did you miss kickoff? Was it as seamless as Ian and Michael were saying, or did you have issues? I'd like to know. In the chat, please let us know what you did. Right, Ian, the players came out. We have a full stadium display, which credit to our friends in black. From the TV screens, it looked magnificent. How did you see it? How did it come across in the stadium, mate?
Well, as you probably saw from the intro, since lockdown, they seem to have built that big structure where the tunnel is, so I can't really see a lot down the sideline. And obviously, I was behind the banner, but I know it's probably not very Palace to have plastic flags to wave, and we prefer to use our hands. But nevertheless, the display was good. It was just a good atmosphere, and it certainly I felt had a positive impact on the players. Well, obviously, Torrent Mitchell, it's the first time he's played in front of the fans. That's crazy to consider that. Maybe it probably overawed him a little bit, as you'll probably come on to. But the atmosphere itself was fantastic. Brentford blew their bolt early. They were singing whilst we were just waiting for people to come out. And as soon as we started singing, you heard very little from them.
Yeah, again, I saw some stuff on that. I've got to tell you about Tim Richardson's experience of getting into the game yesterday. He said, for me, it was a piece of cake. I just walked into the living room and turned the telly on. Yeah, thanks for that, Tim. It was very, very insightful, mate. So, and how was the atmosphere? Did you notice? Yeah, what did you think? Was it increased than to last time you remember, or was it louder, or quieter? What do you think?
To be perfectly honest, I thought it was probably a 7 out of 10 performance. I think people are just getting back into the swing of things. There was certainly far more interaction between the Arthurwaite and Holmesdale, and which was reciprocated as well, which is unusual nowadays. But it was. I think people were just glad to be back. I'm
going to choose my words very carefully here, Joe. I think you know what I'm about to say. I am aware that in Block Z there are extra people, shall we say, that used to be in the middle of the Holmesdale, now in Block Z as well. Okay, so that could be why you're getting a bit of a bounce between the Arthur and Holmesdale, which is good, because at the end of the day, it's going to actually, anything that lifts the atmosphere in the stadium, I'm all for it.
Gotcha.
And you wouldn't have been aware of that, Ian, because we've never had that conversation. But yeah, I'm actually aware that there's extra bodies in the Arthur that weren't there last year. Yes, Joe.
Comments.
Go for it.
Some good ones here. So Edward Osborne said, "I'm a Brighton fan. We all have our crosses to bear, but I'm glad to see that there are other people watching. There's also a fellow called Anthony Whitten watching as well. Most of you won't know him, but it's my wife's boss. He's a Spurs fan, I seem to think. And but talking about getting into grounds and stuff, it's quite bizarre, really. Tony P. Quinn said, "I'm going to Celtic versus AZ Alkmaar on Thursday. I've been given a 20-minute time slot to enter the stadium. I won't be allowed in or after." Which is, there'd be about 60 fans in our ground, really, wouldn't they? Because most of them would be pierced. Some of them would still be in the toilets. Do you know what I mean? Everyone would just miss their time slot. So that'll go out the window. Let's just give a few name calls, because obviously you've gone through loads here already. Simon Philpott, Michael Middleton, Chris Young, Rob Donovan, Martin Naish, Jack Kerr, Kathy Thompson, Mark Drew, Steve Freeman, Neil Chatterjee. Obviously, the Tim Richards is always here because he has nothing else to do at whatever early time it is in the morning tomorrow. Already there. Guillaume too. I don't know. Matty Cannon, he's always here. I think he's just here for the free prizes, really, Matty, because he seems to be hanging about all the time. Mark Wills, Bedak Mamoni, Cliff Perry. Yeah, there's loads here. James Convey, thanks for joining. The more the merrier.
Absolutely. And on the subject of more the merrier, to the Spurs fan and to the Brighton fan, and hats off to Brighton, they're in third place and great start, okay, but we know it's a marathon, not a sprint, okay, so we look forward to seeing you down where you belong very shortly. To the Spurs fan and the Brighton fan particularly, in the chat, please, boys, you are welcome. I'm only joking. You're very welcome. Please tell me what brings you onto the Red and Blue Review. Is it you want to see how the professionals do it on one of the bigger shows? Let's say in the chat. I'd love to know, and I will read out your comments as soon as they come through. So come on board.
Stalking, right. Really, isn't it?
It is stalking, but you know what? The more people that watch us, spread the word. I know my brother's there. Simon Philpott, he's watching, and he's down in Brighton. You know, he loves to walk around in Brighton Town Centre with his Palace shirts on, and he's actually got a daughter. I don't know if you boys only know this. His daughter's name. Are you ready for this? His daughter's name. This is as true as I'm sitting here.
Crystal Alice.
Crystal Alice. Crystal, I love you, darling. Okay, and I hope you're well. Right. Okay. So on to team news. So the team for yesterday. So in my mind, he was probably playing a 4-3-3. Guaita, Ward, Gay, Anderson, Mitchell, Gallagher, Kawate, MacArthur, Zaha, Benteke, and Schlupp. And of course, as we know, Crystal Palace remain without their skipper, Luka Milivojevic, who he misses out because of personal reasons. And our condolences from Red and Blue Review to his family on his sad loss. Now, boys, what we're going to do, we are going to do the game as we're talking, okay? But I'm actually going to attack this in different ways, if you don't mind. And ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, I would like your thoughts and processes, because we're going to pick out departments, i.e. defence, midfield and attack. We're going to talk about the goalkeeper, and I'd like to know from the panel what they thought of individual performances from them. Now, obviously, we're bringing in new players. We've got a whole new system that we're trying to play. And I'm going to kick this off. And Nigel and Greg, I'm coming to you now, okay? Simply because I'm going to kick this off with the goalkeeper. Vicente Guaita had a magnificent season for us last year. However, he has been asked by the manager to play a different way. He's playing out the back, okay, from feet. Now, I was at the Bridge last weekend, and to say that he was nervous is an understatement. There was a couple of times where yesterday he went to punch and he didn't get anywhere near it, and nearly cost a goal against us. Vicente Guaita, Greg, you first. Your thoughts on him so far this season, what you've seen? Anything that worries you particularly?
I think he's an experienced goalkeeper. I think he's got a lot of quality. If he's being asked to play a new way, it's going to take time to develop. It might be a side of his game that he's not worked on much previously. So I think we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't feel nervous because I think he's 34. I think he's got enough about him, enough Premier League experience now, and I think it'll improve. I'm not nervous. But what did cross my mind was, being 34. I appreciate you can probably play onto your later years as a goalkeeper, but I do wonder if this is possibly the season that it might be his last season, and Butland moves in, who I think is 27. So, on one hand, no, I'm not worried about Guaita. I think it'll improve. But I do suspect that Butland is not far off from being promoted to the number one keeper.
It's really interesting to hear you saying that, okay? Because Chris Young's made the point in the same point in the chat, and a couple of other guys have said exactly the same, that Butland will become our number one by the end of the season. Nigel, your thoughts on Guaita? Is anything that worrying you? I'm reading Tom Clark Samuel saying in the chat, even Tom, that he's punching too much. What do you think?
Yeah, it's becoming the modern way, though, isn't it? I was watching Match of the Day last night. Sort of just about stopped the wait because we were last again. But a lot of the keepers now are just doing this punching rather than coming out and claiming the ball. But, you know, as we said, if Patrick's sort of changed the way we play, fair enough, Vincente's got to change his method. But is Jack Buckland up to the new method as well? You know, so people are sort of jumping in, sort of saying, time to rest him, get Jack in. We don't know how Jack suits to the new way that Patrick wants to play. So give him another week or two, and we'll see how he goes.
Chris Brandrick saying Butlin is good with his feet. That will be the decider. Vincente will keep his place. Gel, let's try and play a little bit of devil's advocate with Vincente. I have no issues with him at all, by the way. I'm not being negative about him in any way, shape or form. He has got 3 new colleagues in front of him to start the season. Does that have any bearing on, let's call it a little bit of a shaky start?
No. Well, what it shouldn't do is a professional footballer. Getting used to you. Do you know what I mean? He's met them. He's trained with them. I would have thought at least 5 times a week for the last month, 5 weeks, and however long they've been back. They don't meet up last week. Do you know what I mean? It's I don't. For me, as has been said, you know, by others, will get said by others. It seems to be, you know, last season it was the keeper's got to get it. You've got to pass it out from the back. We're pretty bad at that, so I don't see why we're going to still keep doing that. And now instead of catching it, far more easy to try and catch some of those balls. Honestly, it's a lottery as to where the ball goes if you try and punch it, if you get on the punch at all. Because, you know, he didn't a couple of times yesterday. So, you know, it's, it seems to be fads and phases with football about what to do. But listen, there are pros and cons with goalkeepers. They're, you know, as most people know, they're always a little bit mental. You're never going to get, you need to be mad to be a goalkeeper. He's brave when we need him to be brave. He's a very, very good shot stopper. But I think what he does is, to the detriment of some fans, he knows when he's beat. He's not going to fling himself into a post or anything to try and stop the ball. If he knows he's beat, he's beat. You know, the free kick last week, he knew that. I don't mean he wouldn't have got it anyway. But so I just, It's the foreign way as well. Goalkeepers punch it. What they're told now is to not try and catch it. Is to parry sideways, parry or punch. So it's as Chris Wood says, you know, Chenze he's always punched the ball. So it is what it is. But and just very quickly, just as others have said, I can say the other thing as well is that we are now getting a squad where we've got a few players for positions, you know, 2 or 3 players for each position now, even if they are young. And if he has a mare, then I imagine he will get changed. Is what it is.
I mean, yeah, I know that. I mean, in fact, I read out last week his opening statement when he first joined us as manager that, you know, he's going to encourage literally playing it on the deck. Yeah, he's not kicking out. I know he's not kicking out anywhere near as much as he did last year, anywhere near when Hennessy was in goal that he did. Most of Hennessy's went into the stands anyway, but that's by the by. All right, boys, that was interesting. I'd like to go on to guys. I am reading all your stuff in the chat, okay? And George, I'll try and come back to your question later on. We'll do some questions later on if we can. Nigel, can you have a look at George's and see if you can just make a note of what he was saying? Right, we're going to do the defence now, boys, and there's a reason for it. We're going to do some good news and not so good news, and I'd like your views on it. Okay, so this back 4 that we started with yesterday with Ward, Gay, Anderson, Mitchell, and Anderson and Mitchell. Okay, first of all, let's do some good stuff. Okay, if I'm honest with you, I have never been so excited about a centre-back pairing, maybe with Tompkins and Sacco when he first started, as I am with Gay and Anderson. They look class. Discuss. Anyone?
We've been looking.
I've not seen enough of them. So.
we've been looking for improvement in that area for some time, haven't we? Really, you know, Cahill brought in for a couple of seasons, obvious quality, you know, and a great stopgap. That's not meant to sound negative, but ultimately he knows that he was that. Tompkins, Sacco, lots of injuries. Dan, has now moved on. So it's really positive to see Palace plucking, some younger players, that can hopefully really fulfil their potential at Palace. I'm assuming here that the strategy bringing in these types of players is the potential sell-on fees and that kind of thing. But that does seem to be, the model that other clubs are following at the moment. For example, if Anderson has a brilliant standout season and one of the top 6 come in for big money, I'm pretty sure Palace would sell and adopt that system. But yeah, having 2 new centre halves and hopefully hit the ground running, it is exciting, and that's not to the detriment of Sacco, Tompkins, Dan, and Cahill. The experience was needed at the time, but for me, I think it's a breath of fresh air to have a centre-half pairing that hopefully we can look forward to seeing starting regularly.
Do you know what? Well said, mate. The only thing I'd pick up on what you said there was if one of the big teams did come in, it would have to be a massive offer, because the thing that I've noticed with Palace this year, and in all my years, 150 years of supporting Palace, I don't think I've ever seen before, is all these new guys are coming in on 5-year deals. So whoever does come in, if somebody does come in for Anderson at the end of the season and he does have a standout season, as you quite rightly said, it'll cost them an arm and a leg, because simply we tied him down to a 5-year contract. Gel, I'd like your thoughts. I mean, the comparison was put in the chat just now. I don't know if you saw it, with Eric the Ninja and Andy Thorne, as whoever's that was their best centre backs pairing they've ever seen. I know you said you haven't seen much of them, and we haven't yet. I know it's only early days. That's the whole point of this discussion. Your thoughts, please, mate. Paul Burrell said that, by the way.
Well, no, because I actually was just going to do that, but you've done it, so it doesn't matter.
Your thoughts?
Well, I haven't seen anything of them. I mean, the only thing is to liken them to Andy Thorne and Eric Young is to think that they're going to get penalties galore, because Eric Young, all he wanted to do was just kill people all the time. So I'm hoping they're going to be a little bit more controlled than he did, and you can't tackle like him anymore. So, but yeah, no. Listen, it's all well and good at the moment, but we've got. Wait until we've played 5 games and see how many goals we conceded before we start screaming for Tompkins. And the other thing as well, no matter what people say, and I read it, and I won't have it. Come at me, do what you like, but I'm telling you now, getting rid of Gary Cahill is just a massive mistake. Massive mistake. I mean, now we've got to start playing our Premier League players in cups. It's either that or we've got to play the 23s. If we're going to play the 23s, then we might as well not play. We might as well just quit it straight away and put the 18s out. So I'm all for the the young coming through. So I've been screaming for years and years. They do. Anyone that comes from Chelsea is not really going to be rubbish. But 80 grand a week. Who's that? What, for me?
No.
70,
not for Chip. He's talking about that's 80,000 reasons why Cahill had to go.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Sometimes people are worth their money. Oh well, I mean, we're going to cover it. So what we'll do, we'll use exactly the same thing. Okay, when we have the Wilf discussion a little bit further on, and he's on more than 80 grand a week. All right. And we'll get money for him. All right. So, it's but yeah, and Simon Krebin said, I think both will work really well with Tompkins. Michael Middleton said they look top class. Chris Brendrick again said Ferguson doesn't exist. Well, he's just broken again. So, but I don't know. What do you think, Nige?
Well, I think Ferguson. He's lost a buddy with Conor Wickham, because he's now he's only training with the under 23s to keep himself fit. That's the only reason you might occasionally see him on the thing. I'd like to see Ferguson come back. And we've got the others that we're waiting to come back out of the treatment room.
Okay, well, as you mentioned, Ferguson, let's talk about the fullbacks, guys. Okay, so yeah, young Mitchell and old Ward yesterday. Now, bearing in mind, I am the first one to put my hands up and say I'm absolutely delighted that we've re-signed Joel Ward for nothing else but for sentiment. Okay, that he's going to get his testimonial season this season. Okay,
but we did give him a 2-year contract,
and we're going to do a 2-year contract. And young Mitchell. First, as I think it was Joel pointed out this earlier on, his first game in front of the fans yesterday, and quite frankly, it showed a little bit. Joel, kick off with the fullbacks. Anything that worries you, and apart from that, we've got a very little cover until Ferguson comes back. I know we've still got Klein to come in, as Paul's just pointed out. But talk to me about the fullbacks.
Not really, because if Mitchell gets injured, then I expect us to go to a 3. It's what we've got to do. We need to adapt. You know, even if we literally play 6 midfield, you know, just play a rather defensive 5, at least 5 going across the middle. To you know, if we're going to play at any time, play 2 defensive midfielders, then we're almost playing, a 5 or a 6 at the back anyway. So we need to adapt. We really need to get away from this Hodgson thing of just playing 4 or 5 at the back and trying literally to reduce the amount of goals that teams score against us. We've always been, for the last 2 or 3 years, you know, our best form of defence has been attack. So it's for me, I think Mitchell's better, much better than what people give him credit for. He was half of the team last year and the years before were just completely stifled. It's, you don't get anywhere. All you do is get disillusioned, and you could see it in the performances sometimes. So I'm hoping that that Vieira gives the guys license to go forward. And Paul Holden saying, make your minds up. 2 weeks ago, we all love Waldy. I love Waldy every single time. I've never, ever caned him on this show. Never will do. Guy has played every Eve asked him, never let us down. Never. So I don't know who's caning Waldy there, but not at all. What we're saying is there isn't a lot of cover, Paul.
Okay, and to put some meat on those bones, Greg, I'm coming to you now. Paul Holden, just to clarify what I just said, yesterday wasn't his best game, and neither was it Mitchell's. Last week at the Bridge, they actually targeted Ward in the first half. I was there. I saw it. They targeted Ayew and Ward on that right-hand side, okay, and got shortchanged. Wardy was outstanding for the first half last week, okay, absolutely outstanding. So nobody's coating Wardy at all. In fact, like I said, right at the top of this, I'm delighted we've re-signed him. I think he's been the model pro. You know, you could argue at the moment he should be captain over MacArthur because he's been. Greg, talk to me about the fullbacks. Anything that worries you so far?
I think losing Van Aanholt means there's lack of competition at left back. But to counter that, I do agree with what Gel's saying. We need to have the ability to facilitate playing different formations from the back, whether that's a 3, 4, or a 5. So if you don't replace Van Aanholt and provide competition for Mitchell, then you could argue that we could use Martin Kelly at left back, which I think we've done in the past. You know,
Jeff Schlupp.
Forgotten man. Yeah, Jeff Schlupp, there you are. So there are options. However, I think, yeah, I'd be a bit nervous that there isn't competition. I think it's always good to have competition and a bit of strength in depth. I'm not sure who that left back would be, but I think Tyrick Mitchell is able. One thing that concerns me with like younger players that get promoted from the youth system into the first team, and I'm just trying to approach this from my perspective. Not that I'm a professional footballer as much as I'd love to be one, but forgive me, is it 21 or however old he is? Yeah. I just think if you played 38 Premier League matches at 21 years of age, that's a massive weight to carry on your shoulders and to deliver good performances week in, week out. And I just wonder if there is another left back that to provide competition or also play a number of those games. I just think that might lighten the burden. I'd be cautious of playing younger players ultimately in a grueling season. You know, I think when you're sort of mid-20s, late 20s, and early 30s, you know, you're sort of well established at dealing with that kind of thing. So I come at it from that point of view. I'm sure he's able to cope with it. But just from my perspective, if it was me, I think I'd like to have competition. I'd like to have someone there supporting me. But at right back, we've got Ward, we've got Klein, and we've got Kelly, like we said. So I don't really have any fears with the fullbacks other than maybe just another left back.
I think you two, but Joe and Greg both make an interesting point about the three. I know, again, listening to his Vieira's early interviews, he's a strong advocate of the three, okay, or the five, whichever way you want to call it. And he was talking about it's when obviously yes, he would play with the flat back four. I get that, but I think that's probably to acclimatise a team as the first starting 11 as a starting 11. What he was talking about is the transition. When teams will allow us to express ourselves going forward, then we can convert to a three, okay, and give us a chance to push on. But that will take time to develop, okay, whether we've got the players for that or not. Certainly the two current centre-backs we have, whether we have around them or not, I'm not too sure. But it's the transition, and I think that will come in time. Don't forget, we're expecting an awful lot to have changed in such a short space of time. It's only early days. I ain't bothered about the single point. I'm not worried about it in the slightest. Nigel, have we got the players for a three at the back?
Yeah, I think we do. We've got to keep the two centre backs, and then we could almost rotate sort of Wardy. I don't know quite how he's going to go as the season gets on. You know, he has got older legs.
Yeah, and it's
so
very valid.
I think he will need a little bit of rotation when it comes to sort of possible 3 games in a week. I think he might be one player that has to be rotated a little bit more. But we've got the capability to play 3 across the back.
Right, now, boys, now we're going to move on, if you don't mind, to the midfield, okay, and see what we found in there, okay? I'll give you my summary so far, and I know, again, one of them is only after 1 game. We have good and we have not so good, okay? And I'm going to go to, we've got MacArthur playing as a skipper at the moment. I'll be quite happy he's shut the armband permanently. I've got no issues there. And he's in a good position on the pitch to be able to dictate things, as with Luca. What do we do with Luca? That we'll probably come on to that later on. Kuate, there's a topic of conversation, gentlemen. And the find so far for me in 1 game was man of the match, Conor Gallagher. Okay, I think with him, once he starts linking with Wilf, we've got a player that really we need to be looking at very, very closely throughout the season. For me, Conor Gallagher has the hallmarks. He has the talent of being the player of the season. Joe, Gallagher, Kuate, and MacArthur. Okay, go one at a time if you'd be so kind.
Macca for me has been consistently our best player since he joined us when we were playing pub football in the Championship. So for me, he is an amazing, and has probably been the best acquisition consistently, for the last 9 years for me. There's better players, but not consistently. That guy never lets us down. And I think you made a valid point, Nigel, about players. Kuate is going to be good for 35, 40 minutes, maybe good for 45, and that'll do. And probably the same as Macca in intense games where we're going to need to chase down. He could probably do it for 60. So, it will catch up with him. But the thing is, with the players that we've got coming in the middle, coming back, coming through, I think we're all right. But yeah, for me, Macca is just an amazing player. Kuate, again, he will be another luxury if we're winning a game to bring him up and solid him up as a defensive midfielder. So if we go to a back 4, he can become part of the back 4 sweeper. That's if Gyro isn't already on. I think that is the way forward for him. I mean, I know I just saw it mentioned that he could play part of the left-sided three at the back where he was at Ajax. But and then for me, Gallagher.
Joe, were you surprised to see your love child dropped yesterday?
No, nothing surprises me in football because it's you just get what you do. You get used to like a little disappointment, and then the person that comes in and plays really well, and you go, well, you can't. If they come in and have a mare, then you go, well, there you go. He ain't better than this player. He ain't better than that player, and we can all sit there and do that. So, but yeah, for me, and then Gallagher is just, it's again another Chelsea. You can see that he's played with far better players. The way that he passes the ball, the way that he points for Wilf to put that ball through for him. Wilf, but the thing is, where he points it, Wilf's good enough to hit that ball. And then he goes through one-on-one with the keeper. Should he do better? Yes, 99% he should do better, but he tries to give the keeper zero chance. And with that, it's a little bit more out of control than what he should have been. But again, that'll come with time for him. But for me, he's a great acquisition. And we saw, whenever he's gone out on loan, he's always been very good for the loanee side. He gives his all, which is what you want. Some loanees we've had have been so bad, they get sussed out very quickly. But if he plays like he did yesterday, he will endear himself to the fans. And it's a real shame. I did ask last week, but no one answered. But do we have a right to buy at this, or is it just a loan? Well, that'd be a real shame because if Chelsea got in the crap anyway through the season, they could just call him back if he's not.
It's not just that. It's not just that. And you raised something again, okay? And it's something I was about to ask Greg actually, and because your point that you just given us there is, my worry is about these bloody loans without an option to buy, and he is without an option to buy. Are we just increasing the value of Chelsea's squad? I mean, that's all we're doing. We're making Chelsea's squad stronger by making...
Nothing's ever going to matter. If we're increasing... We're never going to increase the value. They've got a billionaire who spends his money. It doesn't matter, does it? I mean, they've developed him as a player, and then he's far good. I'd see what he could probably do. He could probably get into 14 of the Premier League, maybe 12 Premier League sides, and he would definitely be a squad player in the rest of them, right? But this season will be the making of him, I think, with us, because we demand. The fans are so close that they demand that and I think he'll thrive on that. But he's a Chelsea player. Their third squad's probably better than us. It's So the just training with good players day in, day out is going to make him better. And when he turns up there, he'll have an affinity with our better players, probably with Jaro, with Wilf, because they'll be on that sort of level that he's played with for years, as he's come through with them. So, but I can't see, that he doesn't enhance Chelsea at all. Not when they've got Mason Mount and Kante and the likes. He's never going to get in there. So eventually, for probably his own mental health, he's going to have to make the move. He's going to have to make the move and then go his own way, away from being the Chelsea loanee. Once he's away from Chelsea, I think you'll see that he'll blossom as a player, because he's always got them to go back to, isn't he? He's always got to go back to comfort and the billionaire lifestyle. Whereas with us, he will be loved. I know the Chelsea fans love their players, but it's a different. We're a different kind of club to them. We're on a different planet to them. They've got all the money and they expect success. What we expect is effort. And look at that. They expect to win a European Cup every year. We just expect you to play well every week. That's right. The difference between us and them.
Jill, do me a favour. Keep your eye on the comments in the chat for me while I talk to the other two for a second. Just one of them I picked out. Chris Young said Bamford and Remy were. I won't tell you what he said. Not so great. Batshuayi Part 2 also not so great. Chelsea owed us a good loanee. What we got with him, Greg? What we got with this Conor Gallagher?
Well, from what I saw yesterday on all of the highlights reels that I managed to watch, looked really exciting on the ball. Everything that you'd want, in a Palace player. It looked great, linking up with Wilf, and really 9 times out of 10 we'd have gone 1-0 up with the shot that hit the crossbar. It gives you. He's going to look like he's going to be the reason you want to go and watch the games, because he's going to be that good. My issue with it is that you fall in love with these players, don't you? And you know that they're going at the end of the season. And you're quite right, Nick. We're improving Chelsea players. However, we do benefit from that, because that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? But Gel's absolutely right. At some point in his career, he's got to make a decision of whether he wants to play regularly or whether he wants to stay at Chelsea. You'll win silverware at Chelsea, but you'll be like the guy in the tracksuit at the back of the queue picking up, you've run out of medals because there's no medals left in the box. That's the player you'll be, though, isn't it? Or do you want to go and play for, let's call Palace a lesser club. I'm not ashamed to say that. Come and play every week and be adored by fans. It's a state of mind. It's a mentality, and you choose your poison, don't you? You either want to win, like, effectively hollow trophies, or you become a cult figure at a smaller club. And there's no bad answer there, because ultimately on your CV you can say, yeah, I won the European Cup, but I didn't play. But I did play in the second round against Karabansanspor or whatever. But that's how I see it. What have we got with Gallagher? Hopefully, the opportunity to create more, in midfield and look a bit more dynamic. We've had some quite dour football for some time, and and that sounds like I'm knocking Roy, but Roy was brought in to do a job, and he'd done his job to perfection. But I think as fans, I just want to see some excitement. And watching the bits of Gallagher on the highlights, I was like, yes, this is it. This is the sort of player I want to see. This is it. Now, you got to ask Mark Gay the question. He's taken the leap and joined Palace on a permanent 5-year deal. What will it take to get Conor Gallagher?
Mate, I don't know if you're aware of what's going on in the chat, but you need to be, okay? While you were talking just there, the love that's oozing for the Lord Ellis, okay, is massive, okay? Welcome back to the show. Last one there, Phil Barber. Is that Lee Phil Barber? Greg is nailing it, okay? That's just one of what's been said in the chat. Nige, talk to me about Kouassi. He's got a bit of a mistake in him, hasn't he?
Yeah, I say I only watched the highlights, and I had the Palace player commentary on during the afternoon, and I don't think he had his best game yesterday. I don't know why he wasn't taken off himself from just listening to the commentary. Yeah. Definitely didn't have his best. But again, he's one of these. We can play in midfield, or we can drop him back into defence.
He's a good utility player. You're right.
Good utility player. Sort of a good squad player. So, but I did read somewhere during the week, somebody was sniffing around him. If they meet the asking price, he could be gone.
And for quite a low value as well. Is it Fenerbahce or Galatasaray or something like that?
It was one of the Turkish teams, yeah.
But a tiny little bit of change. Gel, comments please, mate.
So Rob Donovan was first to make this point, so I'm not going to go right the way down the bottom and not give him a bit of kudos. He said it's RLC all over again. Maybe Connor will learn, and then there's everyone saying that just the comparisons again. But Matty Cannon said, "Would he want to go back after having a look at RLC, Abraham's, Bats and Co, and see how hard it is, and maybe he could force him and move himself, and the option is always there." Because it's, one sniff of the Chelsea first team is temptation that's hard to resist. So, but and then I just couldn't see who said it, but anyway, what they said was Gay and Gallagher, they're best mates. So
Tom Samuel,
there's something to that. There is something to that. Yeah, whoever said that, I really
Tom.
couldn't see it. Sorry, but
It's Tom.
yeah.
Tom.
So well done, Tom. But anyway, if there's anything that can sort of make that happen, what we need to have is just a little bit of success, and I think what we will do is, rather than us have to go and look for players, eventually, because we're an established Premier League side, some players, if they don't, if they stop believing their agents that they're good enough to play for Real Madrid, they will come to look for us the other way round. And I think that this is now we have got an opportunity for players like Gallagher. As long as we don't offer him silly money where he'll go off the boil because he knows he's getting 70, 80 grand a week. I think those days of those are, our cap, I think, is probably at his age and his ability. Anything above that, we've got to be playing. We've got to be paying more money, and at the moment, we can't afford that, which is why we're in the middle of this fantastic, very, very interesting phase of the future for our club. But yeah, so Paul Bristow says it's very. So I just need to take something off it first. So Paul Bristow has turned around and says it's interesting that Greg is showing his love for music with his and hers guitars, whereas Gel likes to be close to the fridge. And this one's for you, Matt. All right.
Listen, ladies and boys, this is. I tell you, we're doing something different tonight with the way we're analysing different players. Ladies and gentlemen, out in Facebook land, you are watching the Only Palace podcast live every week, okay? And you are very welcome. Thank you to each and every one of you. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. As you've always said, it is great to have Greg back. Listen to Gel doing his stuff and Nigel up north. I love every minute of this, okay? Please, please, please like and share this page. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, comment in there, put some comments in below, because obviously it helps us get our ratings up. But we do thank each and every one of you. Right, boys, we're coming on to the front three. And before you do, I'm coming to you first, Jill, but do not do your usual Benteke bit, okay? Go on, what are you going to say?
I'm just saying we've got Greg in, because obviously, we like to have other people, but we've only got Greg in to appease the middle classes, all right?
Yeah.
Who is his and hers guitars? What's all that about?
I love
Does
it.
your missus play the guitar? I want to know, because if not, you've got a pink guitar.
No, I chose that guitar. Great guitar.
There you go. Blowing him out of the water. Get out. Go on in. Tom, what do you want to know about the front three?
Zaha had probably one of his worst games for us in many a moon yesterday. Benteke isolated up top. Schlupp, I'm still not convinced. Go for it. You go first, Jill.
Okay, so Wilf, I'm not going to say he had his worst because didn't see enough of it, but let's just say quiet. Was he marked out the game as per usual? Benteke, I thought the only one that he should have really out-jumped the defender by a good 2 feet and headed 6 feet over the bar when he could have headed it. It's easy when you just look at it, but I thought he could have done better than that. And Jeff Schlupp, I really don't know. He's always been a bit of an enigma, Jeff Schlupp, with us. He's Marmite, isn't he? You either love him or hate him. I mean, not hate him, but you love him or you dislike him. I mean, I can love him one week, and then the next week he's so bad where he doesn't come back. He just turns into PVA again. You think, oh, why? We just don't want players like that. So, but yeah, I mean, the only bit of service that Benteke got, let's talk about him first, was the cross, and that was from a bit of persistence from Ward. So, but yeah, the thing is, I was watching social media a little bit yesterday because obviously I was, because of certain family circumstances and stuff. Myself and Lisa were down in Brighton with our little granddaughter, and so I was listening and watching social media, and they were sort of going after Wilf a little bit, certain people, and so maybe he didn't have his best game. Maybe that he, if he's not playing, maybe he just needs to play for a better team where the ball is going to come at him at 50 mile an hour, and it's going to be ahead of him with a bit of spin on it for him to run into. Maybe he just needs to, if he's that moody all the time, maybe he needs to change. Maybe the club just for the benefit of of everyone all round. I really don't know. Again, I said to you said privately, I said if he didn't move at the beginning of this season, and especially now in January, if he doesn't move this January or just before the window shuts or whenever, if he doesn't move by January, he'll be here for life. And I can't think that's going to be good for him. I really can't think that's going to be good for him. So, and again, I'm seeing it, in the comments here, they use the word sulking, and that's really quite sad, really, for someone who's 28 years old to have that label at you all the time. So, he's very confrontational with the referees. The referees all just seem to have a huge agenda against him anyway. But yeah, I don't know what it is about Wilf. As he's got older, he went through that. He went through that stage, right? Do you remember when he first got into the first team, and he just wanted to fight everyone, didn't he? Because they were kicking him. It's just say that they were kicking him, and everyone was kicking him, and he just wanted to fight everyone. And we was like, oh no, please don't get sent off. And then he come close to it all the time, so he got subbed off. And then he went. Then he sort of came back after he'd had that terrible thing at Man United and Cardiff and wherever. And he came back and he was all smiles. He just looked like, look at his face and what he was doing to Brighton. And he just I think he loved his football. And now look at him. Does he smile? Does he literally, when he scores, he looks so angry. And when he doesn't score, he looks so angry. And when a pass is misplaced, he looks so angry. And you're like, God, blimey, he literally is one of the best players that's ever put a shirt on for our club. But what he's doing is he's gradually alienating himself from parts of the fan base. And it's really sad because there's a lot of people that maybe like myself where I think maybe just, look, he wants to go and play for another team. Just take him and just give us, I don't know, whatever it is, for £2 million for 36 years. I don't know. Do you know, it's just...
I'm going to read out a couple of the comments. I mean, people are talking in the chat, Jill, while you're talking, okay? And Michael Middleton said he needs to calm down. Mickey Philpott said if you get in the ref's face like he does, and they don't expect to get anything from them. Chris Brandrick commented the night, mate, you've been on fire this evening. I've been watching your comments. He's like my missus. Phil Bell said, I've been a Wilf fan for ages, and yesterday was enough. I'm so fed up with Wilf moaning and chucking his dummy out of his pram. Yes, there were a few challenges then, but bloody hell, he needs to grow a pair and take it on the chin. Dawn said, Atkinson gave Wilf nothing, and Dawn, you're right. And good evening to you, by the way. Joanne Phillips, if Wilf, it has passed Wilf by, in her honest opinion. Life goes on, and maybe it is time to cash in. I don't know. Right, Greg, Zaha, Schlupp, and Benteke. Your thoughts so far. And before you answer, there is just one thing I will throw in there. Last week, they played Ayew. They cried to get him off, all that sort of stuff. Or he came on the sub. The trouble with getting rid of Townsend, it only leaves you two options: it's Schlupp and Ayew. Okay, what's the winning formula, or what do we need?
Well, I think I watched last week's show, and there was a discussion of Ayew. My take on it is that he cost £2 million, and he's had varying seasons: good, bad, and it's patchy, at best. The highlight really was, clearly the season with the goal against West Ham. I think there's a quality player in there somewhere. So he's clearly got the ability, and I think it comes down to attitude, really, and aptitude. And really, if the system fits or if he feels part of the team, I don't know. Might be one of those players that needs an arm around him. I'm unsure. But from what I can see from Ayew, there's clearly ability, but it's not always unlocked. So it's a slight concern. Because clearly 2 seasons ago he'd be one of the first names on the team sheet. After last season, it was less impressive. I do rate him. I do think he's a good player. I think he's a good Palace style player. Moving on to Schlupp, I think Gel's absolutely right. There's definitely been weeks where I've seen him and gone, oh, he's absolutely brilliant. And then there's weeks where you think, is this the same guy? What's going on here? Again, it's so not too dissimilar to Ayew. Is what is making those players vary in so many ways. How can you play so inconsistent? It's like when I go and play golf. There's no guarantee it's going down the middle. This probably goes left or right, mainly, not down the middle. Moving on to Benteke. Everyone seemed to wax lyrical about him signing a new deal because he got 7 goals last season. He's a centre forward. I'm not going to bang on too much about it, but I think I'm very much in Gel's camp with Benteke. I think he's a spent force. I think prime Benteke would have buried that, and we'd have won 1-0 because Gallagher hit the bar. The other 9 times out of 10, we've won the game 2-0. I'm not that enthusiastic about Benteke, to be perfectly honest. I want him to do well. He's signed a deal now, so I'll support him. Clearly, that's the club have viewed that he's worth having, and I tend to think of it from the perspective of he's possibly better than whatever else we can get in. That's why we've kept him. There's obviously talk of Adam Armstrong. I know you covered this last week, and it's gone to Southampton subsequently. They've obviously decided it was too much money or whatever. But anyway, we've got Benteke. And Mateta. We haven't spoken about Mateta yet.
I was coming onto the bench in a minute.
The guy's played 7 games, mostly as a sub. So the guy really probably deserves a chance, doesn't he? I'm surprised he started last week and obviously fallen to the bench this week, probably based on last week's performance. But I think we'll learn over time. But I think for me, attacking, the attacking side of the team is lacking. It's the bit that concerns me the most. Are the days of a 20-goal scorer gone? Do the goals, are they populated from elsewhere within the team? Is that a thing anymore? I don't know. But I just feel with the presence of Gallagher, Elise, Eze, and Zaha, that's quite mouth-watering. And, you might only need Benteke might do it. I don't know. But for me, I'd like Palace to get another centre forward. Keep Mateta. You never know. I think we've got to try before you buy deal. So at the moment, I suspect they'll send him back to Mainz. But that's my fear at the moment, is there's not enough quality up top. And I don't know if there's any kind of youth player waiting in the wings, centre forward who's going to come in and be that that guy that can come in.
Okay, thank you for that. So in the chat, somebody is talking about our man. I'm trying to rack his. Who's the guy in Celtic? Edward. Thank you. Okay, and somebody's advocating that in the chat. Let me tell you where we're at on that, okay? Because I can give you some information on very good authority from our number one trusted person, and I'm not going to give out names. But as far as Edward's concerned, the conversation between Freeman and Parish took place about him. He is too much money, £100,000, which is what he was, £100,000 a week, okay? And they want 20 million for him. They won't pay it. They won't pay his wages, and they won't pay that amount of money for him. But officially, they have not even made a bid for him. So you can, at the moment, as things stand, it's absolutely a no. Forget what you read in the paper. Forget what you see on Twitter. I've had it very good authority that we have not even made a bid for him. Nigel, anything to add on the front three?
I'd like to read. So anybody that was at the match yesterday, I'd like to hear what Zaha was like at the final whistle, because we're now just over a week away from the end of the season. End of the transfer window. I think there's about to be a wash of money getting logged into the general kitty of the transfer window with Harry going to Man City, it seems like. Will there be a bid coming in for Wilf? Was yesterday his farewell at Selhurst Park?
We'll find out. Joe, before I come to Ian, your thoughts?
I was there, obviously.
Hang on, Ian. 2 seconds, mate. Go on, Joe.
Just in the chat, going back to it. Paul Alden says, you can help us out here, Ian. He said, Greg reminds me of what we need to use. Use the youth now. Cheerio, ultras. So if you could just block Paul Holden for us, Ian.
Don't worry.
And then
yeah.
Chris Gunn
I-
said Eagles.
What we need is
So
yellow
and Ali
cards.
Logan said, Ali Logan said people's main argument for IU is that he runs a lot. But he don't run a lot, and he didn't play professional football.
Ian, Mr. Lyon.
I'll tell you what, gang, there has been some cracking comments in tonight's
They've been on
show.
fire
It's
in there. They've been on
fantastic.
fire.
Just to answer Nigel's question about Wilf, my précis of Wilf's performance was he was a yard off the pace. He put a great ball in for Conor Gallagher and then lived off it. But he did put a slide tackle in and got back up at the high press, all within the first 20 minutes. After that, he was isolated. He couldn't outrun when he was in one-on-one situations. Their centre-back, Atkinson, don't get me wrong, Atkinson was an absolute twat and gave us very little. And so I'm surprised no one's actually said it yet. Brentford's time wasting was second to none. I can't remember a side coming to us that time wasted so blatantly. Their number 15 was on the deck for like 4 or 5 times in the first half, rolling around, feigning injury, etc., etc. But Wilf himself was getting nothing. He was getting wound up by it, and they were doing what seems to be de rigueur now for centre backs after having watched Chiellini and Bonucci doing it, chest bumping each other after having knocked him out or got away with another obvious obstruction on him. But when Wilf went off at when the game finished, Wilf just walked off, undid his wraps, and just walked straight down the tunnel. And, he acknowledged the crowd, but I can't see anyone paying anywhere near anything that we're going to be after for Wilf. And I agree with what Jill said earlier. We're going to be stuck with him and he's going to be stuck with us. So he better put his socks up. Otherwise, he's got 2 years left on his contract, 5-year contract. Maybe it'll just be that long. And
I think you're right, because I'm coming on to, I was going to talk about the bench, and my thoughts were it's a little bit light because we had Butler and Matthews as goalkeepers, Tompkins, Kelly, Riedewald, Ayew, Raksaki and Matata, not the strongest of bench. But what you just said about Zaha, age, and look over your shoulder, young man, because we've got what I wanted to go on to, and I'm conscious of the time now, and it's already gone past 9 o'clock, is what we've got coming back from injury, Alisi and Eze. Okay, there's your left and right wingers. If we're going to drop Wilf at some point and take him out of the equation, you've got those two coming back. But boys, I'd like to know what you think we need between now and Tuesday week. What else do we need as a must? But we have got those two strong characters to come back, and I think our not doom and gloom, because we're not doom and gloom just because we're in just above the bottom 3. I think there's lots to be positive about. But what do you think we need? And Nigel, I'm going to start with you first. Is there anything you think that we need? Guys, I can hear a TV or some music in the background. And whoever it is, can you mute? Cheers. Nigel, what do you think we need? Is there anything pressing apart from obviously the 2 players coming back?
We need another striker. There's all this talk now we're getting the guy from Watford, another midfielder. Going to be absolutely overrun with midfield. It's definitely somebody.
Young Hughes, yeah,
young Hughesy. It's the striker they've got to be looking for in the next 8 days.
Okay, Greg, anything you can think of it in terms of absolute must before the window closes?
Must is a centre forward, absolute must. I don't know who that's going to be. I think another winger would be helpful. And it's a tricky one because whilst I'm not a fan of re-signing old players, and clearly we've got good examples of that, I don't know if this is like something that would work psychologically. And I'll ask the panel here for your thoughts. But would you take Yannick Bolasie on drastically reduced wages and play a few games to maybe increase the morale of Zaha? He might not feature, but he might be on the subs bench. Is it worth having someone like that just whispering in his ear for the rest of the
I'll
season?
answer that, Greg, if you don't mind. My personal views, and I know what the other two are going to say. My personal view is on a pay-as-you-play contract, and there's your man for your cups. Yeah, give him a chance to improve his fitness with the Palace shirt on. He clearly wants to come back to us. Okay, the fan base would love to see him in the Palace shirt one more time. If nothing else, for nostalgia. But here's your man who could actually do something in the cups, and maybe as a stopgap for a game or two in the Premier League. Go on, boys, fill your boots.
I think
we've had
Benteke.
enough of.
Go on, Joe.
No, go on.
Right, I think Benteke only come back as pay as you play.
Bless you, mate.
If you follow him on Instagram, he did a video of his training, and he is still one very fit lad. So he could get back in, but he has got his he's got his history with us. The fans loved him, as we've known players that have come back before. Sort of the second love's not always as good as the first love, is it?
Ladies and gentlemen in Facebook land, yes or no to Yannick? Just a simple yes or a simple no. Joe, what were you going to say, mate?
Tony Queen said you can now add comedy to your podcast texts. No, absolutely no chance. I mean, we just keep going. It's one that will split the fan base 100%. You know, half of them are wanting back and half of them won't because we're just thinking about the good times. But you know, even the best of us knew that Pardew was never going to be a good manager. But you know, not everyone, but well, everyone, including Parish, wanted him to come and manage at the club. And quite frankly, I thought it was, you know, apart from the cup final run, is the only one that's taken a cup seriously in the last 10 years. You know, it was pretty much just a scrape by almost a disaster. So there's no way in a million years I'd do that. I don't know what Southampton are paying wages-wise or how they seem to be a more attractive proposition than us. But you know, seeing what I saw today, I thought Armstrong would have been a good fit for us.
Yeah, I agree with
but you know, it's the other thing as well. See, people saying we need wingers. We do need to give Banks a chance. Seriously, he came down here with a great reputation 2 years ago, and I know he got sent off, which is why he wasn't considered for the squad or whatever. But you know, I really think that he needs to make the step up. Again, this is what I've said before. You make the step up, you give them a chance, and if they fail, you get rid. Simple as that. We've got an academy. You know, we should almost be trying to. And that sounds, you can't rush people, but this is Premier League football. You've actually got to put it on them, and they're either going to be good enough or they're not. And like I say, the greatest thing I've ever seen in sport is Sachin Tendulkar in the era of the best bowlers ever, 17 when he played for India, I think, and has gone on to become, you know, went on to become one of the best players in the world. So if you're good enough, you are old enough. I'm not having all this, you know, who's the young player that played at 16 years old that we bought? Did we buy him off Peterborough a little while ago?
Yeah.
Why have we bought him? That's what I'm saying. So why have we bought him? I obviously think he's half decent. He's good enough for League Two. So, but he's come to a Premier League side. If he isn't good enough, don't buy him. You know, it's I want to see Banks. I want to see Banks step up again. Natural left footer coming in off the left hand side, not to do what, you know, to hit one in the top corner like Andros tried every week. And again, I think we've got players. I think what's happened now is the fan base have now sort of got used to the idea that we have to promote, even if they aren't 100% ready. They've got to step up. And again, you know, Raksaki, you know, George is saying there's a lot of people, you know, Mark Corbett said he'd rather see Banks. So, and Don Palace saying Banks isn't a winger. Well, I thought he was a winger. He was the best winger in Scotland when we brought him down. So, you know, I don't understand. So, where does he play?
He's an attacking midfielder, but I think that's exactly.
Well, then,
nevertheless, I think that's what we need. I mean, I hear all the time, we need strikers, we need strikers. Well, we can have Jesus up front, but unless you give them the supply, they ain't going to score.
Jesus.
And we've seen that with Benteke.
It'd be great with a cross, though.
If you supply him, then he will score. We've used that about 4 times now, Nick.
Sorry,
that's crazy. But so I think people just think getting a striker is an instant success, is an instant cure to the problems that we have as a side making chances, and it's not. I wouldn't be too bothered if we didn't get a striker. I'm more interested in linking the midfield with the front line and how we do that. I've already seen signs of it with Gallagher yesterday. The fact that we've got players that travel with the ball. He was fantastic getting into the box last minute, on a third man run or whatever. I think obviously when Eze comes back, he's going to travel with the ball. Elise, he's going to travel with the ball. So I think that sort of stuff's in the wings. I'd love to give Scott Banks a try. I agree with Joe. I agree with the boys, I think. And, in the comments going on, I think he's due a turn. Raksaki, we've got him in the wings now, no pun intended. I'm sure we'll see him on Tuesday. It's not... Let's not just spend money for the sake of spending money. As Joe said, the academy is now being... where's Nick gone? He's had enough, I think. As I say... The academy is there to produce the talent. We've got this guy from PSG there to actually bring that talent through. Let's trust it a little bit. I don't see what's wrong with it. Right.
Well,
where's Nick?
Someone needs to step up because otherwise we're going to have to just keep buying players. And Nick said we've just dropped off the air, so it looks like we're still live.
The broadcast, we're still recording, so it's not a problem. So here he is, he's coming back.
Okay.
So,
but yeah, I mean, as we've already said, when Eze comes back and Elise comes back, I mean, we've bought in the last 2 years, we've bought consistently. The best player from the Championship 2 years ago was Eze. The best player from the Championship, or Elise, this time round. So I'm hoping that that we couldn't have been the only ones looking. Well, I know Newcastle were looking at Eze. So, but I still think that we need to, we need to be buying strikers. If not, we need to be promoting strikers, because at some time or other during training, some of these players will. For me, for all his faults, I think we have to force Wilf up front. It's as simple as that. Just play him up front.
Like the look of Rob Street. I think he's a good prospect. I'd like to see him given a chance. He's a bit like Daly. I know you used to like Daly, and he's Daly's effort and what he gave. He's a bit of that, but he holds the ball up well, and he's obviously got a bit about him. Give the kids a chance. You never know what other rough diamond we've got there.
Greg, because we haven't seen you for a while, I'd like to know your thoughts and what you saw of Eze and maybe know anything about Elise.
I mean, clearly Eze I think he had a great season. It definitely got better as it went on. There's always a lot of expectation, I think, from Palace fans on young players, and I appreciate we've got a history of taking young players and turning them into better players. So I think that there's always an expectation, but towards the end of the season, the goals he was scoring, where it's just sort of, it was almost like he was ice skating through the field, wasn't he? Really, and he just glided through Sheffield United twice and just stroked it in the corner, and it was great to see.
Beautiful to watch.
Definitely, yeah. It was like Bolero on Selhurst,
Yeah, there's your middle class bit again. He's done the middle class bit. You're Christopher Dean.
A lot of my family are Reading season ticket holders, and they're gutted that they've lost Elise.
In fairness, they were very humble when he came to us. He said, "So right before I come to you, Joe, because we're gonna have to wrap this up in a minute." Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, we're away at the London Stadium this Saturday. West Ham away. Your thoughts, please. Give me your score predictions in the chat, please. Go, Greg. Can you imagine the excitement? Wilf Benteke, Gallagher, Elise, Eze, all in one, all gracing Selhurst Park.
Yeah, look, it's mouth-watering prospect, isn't it? You know, if they can stay fit, you know, and I'd like that to happen. You know, that would be amazing. I think Gel's right, to be honest. Minus Benteke, stick him on the bench. Put Wilf up front. You know, Elise, Gallagher. You know, Eze. I think it's a good mouth-watering prospect. West Ham, is it West Ham away? Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, without sounding negative, I think it will be a draw. I'm going to go for 1-1. But I don't feel that that's a negative result. And
No, not at all.
I'm not too concerned with the start. I think West Ham are a good side. I think they've done really well over the last little while. And I think we should view a draw as a decent point there. I think we'll, you know, it's going to take a bit of time. But yeah, 1-1. Yeah, can't wait to see that lineup.
Joe, I'm coming straight to you. Nigel, you wanted to say something?
Just remember, we've got the League Cup on Tuesday night. We're up at that tight little team in Hertfordshire.
Oh, yeah, those pesky little bees, you know, wasps or whatever they are. Good. I forgot about that. Yeah. Joe.
I want to just go back to what Lee Lockwood's said. But Gerald, that's the issue. The issue we're relying on Championship players too soon. What with a new system and new manager, it could be a bridge too far this season. Well, I did say, you know, my predictions this year, 8th or 18th. I think, you know, I really do believe that. If it all gels together and we stay injury free, I think we'll finish. I think we'll be very good. And then, but if not, then I think, you know, we'll go. I think we'll drop. But, you know, the other thing about this, you know, about people being phased by Championship players, Eze has come in, I'm sure Elise, and come in and look great. And again, I think Elise will do the same thing. And you only have to just go back through history of the last 5, 6, 7 years of players. You look at Leicester City, you know, their forward who's played, you know, European football in the last 5 years of his career, came out of non-league for £1 million. It's a huge amount of money and scored goals at every single ground. Dele Alli was playing in League Two, straight into the Spurs team. You know, comes up and scores that wonder goal against us in his first season playing for Spurs. You got to make the step up. People do rise to the occasion when you 9 times out of 10. You know, the things about them being frightened, they're playing at Selhurst, they're not playing at Old Trafford in front of 75,000. If you think they're going to get scared, well, don't play them. But the thing is, we need to, you know, the future of our club financially depends on us playing, you know, 7 or 8 players out of our academy or 7 or 8 players that we've brought in from the Championship to get, you know, with 2 or 3 very expensive players.
Right.
And we still have...
Do you know, you're so right. And while you're talking, do you know what's just come to my mind? And I'm gonna draw a line under the show here. You know, because of what you just said, let me paint you a picture. We have now got Elise and Eze, the future, Zaha and Balassi. And we tied them down under 5-year deals. The future is, I was going to say orange or bright. It's not, it's red and blue. Boys, that was a fascinating, completely different style of discussion we had tonight, and you've all brought something special to it, and I'm really grateful for it. Ladies and gentlemen in Facebook land, look at you. There's still dozens of you out there. Thank you so much, but we have got to pull the plug on it for tonight. On behalf of myself, Nick Philpott, and this entire magnificent and talented team, I wish you a safe and happy week. Up the Palace. We'll see you next Sunday. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Is that the real Phil Barber?
Phil Barber. Phil Barber. Yeah.